Hi, so I wanted to pop on here and just share something that's on my heart. I've been studying Joseph and doing a Bible study. It's called Finding God Faithful, and it's very good. And I've known the story of Joseph my whole life, but you know how it is. Sometimes things just like pop out there and stick out a little differently. So that's kind of what's happening with this. But so we read the other week about when Joseph interprets the Pharaoh's dream, and then he becomes governor over Egypt, and his job is to store grain in the for the 7 good years and the 7 bad years of famine that's coming. And he stores up so much grain that eventually they stop being able to measure it, because it's as the sand of the seashore is said. And that is a lot of grain. A lot when you think about it. And but I became a little mesmerized with the whole storehouse thing, the storehouses of grain, and how that he was able to store enough grain for himself and his family, and Egypt and the surrounding places. And so because he had to store it daily for each day, and while he was doing that, he had to prepare ahead. And so I was just thinking that was, amazing. And the Lord had to be with him, helping him do that. Otherwise, I don't know how anybody would be able to do that. And, but through all of that, my mind's gone all kinds of directions. I think the Bible study even mentioned, for a little while we were reading, and it said, that we could be storehouses, especially during this time. I think we had this discussion, maybe, storehouses for others. And so I got to really thinking on that. And I don't know, my heart's really stirred that we can become storehouses for God to fill up. For him to pour his love, his grace, his mercy, his forgiveness, his compassion, his contentment, his faithfulness, his goodness, all of those things in us as his storehouses. And I looked up the definitions for storehouses, and one of them said a building to hold supplies, and one said something to hold an abundant supply, and then another thing said a treasure. And I thought, wow, I want to be a storehouse for the Lord, to be able to pour his love and joy, peace, grace, mercy in, and so that he can, when he can pour those things in me and in you or anyone, we can become storehouses for him, and that will sustain us that day, for that day, but also for the days to come, and not just for us, but for our families and for all those that we come into contact with. And it's just been burning on my heart that to stay really connected with him. And different things work for different people, but just to spend time with him daily, so that he can fill us up. Because I don't know about anybody else, I can only speak for myself, but when I've spent time with the Lord, whether it's in prayer, or whether it's reading my Bible, or whether it's going for a walk and just talking to him, and then listening for him to speak to my heart, all kinds of ways, or maybe it's putting in a CD and listening to praise and worship music. but to daily connect with him so he can fill me up. Because when I do that, then I approach others differently, whether it's just my family or I don't say just my family, I shouldn't say it that way. I'm saying whether it's for them or maybe it's for me. Maybe I'm having a day that I can't pray or I can't focus or I'm depressed or I just feel disconnected. Well, on that day, if I have on previous days been connected with him and he has filled me up, then on the days when I can't, he brings those things to my remembrance, his faithfulness, his goodness, his mercy, and it helps sustain me until I can again. And then if it's not, then, you know, maybe I'm doing okay, but maybe my family, somebody in my family, I need to give mercy or grace or more love. Everyone needs love. And then anyone that I come into contact with, because people are hurting and maybe they just need somebody to listen. Maybe they just need a smile. Maybe they need love. Maybe they need you to show a little grace or mercy to them. And it's hard to do that when we're depleted, when we haven't been connected, when we haven't, you know, been talking to him or you know, connecting with him, being aware of his presence in our lives. And so it's really stirred me up because I really just want him to be able to pour his attributes into me so that then I can in turn pour them out just like Joseph did. And I even think beyond the grain, but I think about all the years he suffered, being thrown in the pit, being in jail, in prison, working as a slave, how the Lord was with him and how he was working on him all during that time so that when the right time came and his brothers came to him, he could be stored up and filled up with forgiveness. You know, I'm sure that when they first threw him in the pit and then they sold him to slavery, forgiveness was hard for him. Had to be. And you would be angry and you would be bitter. But it had been a long time. And he had suffered in many ways. And he could have grown bitter all through those years. But that's not how the Bible talks. It always says, and the Lord was with him. And the Lord was with him. And he excelled in everything he did. Even in prison, he rose to the top. And it always says, and the Lord was with him. And the Lord was with him. So that tells me the Lord was working on Joseph's heart so that he would be prepared. Not even knowing that his brothers were going to come and they were going to need grain. But when they arrived, he was able to be at a place in his heart where he had joy when he saw them. He had joy to give. He had love to give. He had the grain to sustain them. But he had all these things in his heart to give to them. And he didn't do it right away. He was careful. But he knew the whole time he was going to help them. As soon as they arrived, he knew he would help them. And so the Lord, you know, really was pouring into Joseph. He was making Joseph a storehouse before Joseph was gathering the grain in the storehouses. He was making Joseph a storehouse of these things to help others, to help the Egyptians, to help everyone. And I just, I don't know, but it's really got my heart stirred. And it's just really stood out to me. And I just want to, that's what I want to be. I desire to be at a place where I'm open for the Lord to pour those things into me, even on the bad days, He's working on me and working on my heart to mold it and to change me so that I can be a storehouse for Him. That's what I want.